Well, it is our second off day of our Midwest trip out here in the state of Missouri. Welcome back to today's video. If you guys saw our fourth night of action, you saw that it ended on the wrong foot over there at the I-70 Motorsports Park. Unfortunately, we were involved in an incident. A car spun in front of us towards the end of the A-main event. I made the wrong decision. I clipped him with my right rear as I was trying to avoid the spinning car, and it ended up tearing up the 18T. Super unfortunate. It sucks that it happened. We were having a good race, making some great laps around a very, very large and fast racetrack there at the I-70 Motorsports Park. With all the history that that place has, I know it originally was an asphalt track and then it was actually vacant and abandoned for years. And now it's back up and running. It's so cool to see such a top-notch facility here in the state of Missouri. Now we are in Sedalia because we are going to be running tomorrow here at the Missouri State Fair Raceway. Track's over there that way. We are kind of here in the back. I guess this is like their camp area or some little field, but we're able to plug into power, which is super important. We're gonna working on the race car. We have probably about 3 hours of work to be done. We just wanted to get it to the point of being able to roll in the trailer yesterday so we could tie it down and then travel up here about 40 minutes away from the place we were running yesterday. As far as parts on the car yesterday that we had to replace, a rear end, a torque tube, front axle, a lot of bolt-on stuff, some radius rods. But as it has been all trip long, it's hot and humid, so we're gonna find a good spot in the shade to put the race car, start getting to work. And as I mentioned, the racetrack is just over that direction, so I'm sure later in the video I'll kind of share with you what preparation they're doing to get it ready for the All-Stars as they come tomorrow. Well, we found a super nice spot here in the shade, and this is where we are gonna finish fixing up the 18T. The front end of the car is actually in pretty good condition. We put a new front axle in last night. As far as what we need to do here in the rear, need to square the rear end, need to put the Jacob's ladder in. We got our spare radius rods in last night. We really tried to do a lot last night when it was super, super cool. We probably spent 2 to 3 hours just working right there in the dirt. So we're gonna be doing some technical work. We're also gonna do some cleaning as far as our tires go and our top wing. It's hard to tell, but the material at I-70 was really weird. It was almost like a sandy, silty, and it just stuck to the race car. So that was what we were dealing with all night, and I talked about how dirty the racetrack was, so we were pulling quite a few tear-offs. But anyway, Carly and I and Roger are gonna get to work. Well, there is a look at my front axle from last night. Carly's changing gears for the big half mile we're taking on tomorrow. I'm gonna take back the left and right front spindle back to the trailer, get them in the solvent tank, clean them up, and then we're gonna rebuild our other front axle, this one right here, so we have a complete spare ready to go in the race trailer if need be the rest of the trip. So my mom has brought the dogs out to join us. Roger's getting some parts out of the trailer real quick. Rear end is squared and much closer to being complete. We do have to change fuel cells, which is very, very unfortunate, because what happened was when the rear end got all disconnected, it came up and actually punctured a hole right underneath here. And for safety reasons, we are gonna be putting that one on, because if for some reason methanol were to leak down onto the rear end, we could cause a fire. And we're also just finishing up the front end. We're trying to get a couple more of the tethers hooked up, which are mandatory when you run with the All-Stars or the World of Outlaws. But we're getting much closer. I know you guys have kind of been following along. I'm just trying to get all the footage I can as we all three work as hard as possible. Like we've been saying, we have some hours between last night and today. And it's been hot. The heat doesn't bother me as much, especially now that we're in the shade and there's a little bit of a light breeze. But we're hoping to get this all finished up and then maybe try try to find something to do at the end of the day here in Sedalia. I don't know what this town is known for or what could possibly be around, but since we are at a fairgrounds, which is different than most tracks, you know, most tracks actually are privately owned on different land back here, where this is kind of like the West Coast, how we are on a fairgrounds. Maybe walk outside since we're right in the middle of the town and just see what's around. There's a look at the hole in the shell. What are your thoughts on that, Carly?
Definitely not runnable, but it's only the shell, so the shell doesn't cost that much. What
she's trying to say is the shell is a lot less expensive than the bladder, which the bladder is inside the shell. To give you an idea, a shell I think is $300 or $400 and a bladder is a couple thousand. So we definitely got lucky there, but we are replacing the shell because like we mentioned, if methanol were to get through that bladder, there was a leak and it got on the rear end, we could have a fire, and fire is most people's worst fear in sprint car racing. So we got this shell off, time to get this one on.
It's really hot out here. Oh, the mic's not even, oh, the mic is on. Just got the fuel tank tied down. Tanner's gonna run actually non-wing tomorrow. He forgot to tell you guys. And he's not gonna run any side panels or anything. And the hood's gonna stay like that.
Well, Dad just finished up the meal. It is now 6:12 in the afternoon. It feels good to see this thing back in its proper condition. We just have a couple things to finish up in the morning, but we're almost about ready to call it for the day. We just gotta put some tie wire on these bolts for the tank. Top wing is on there. Surprisingly, the wreck last night did not touch the top wing, which that was, if there was a positive out of the incident, that was one of them. We do have some tires to do tomorrow as far as dismounting and mounting left rears and right rears. I-70 was just so hard on equipment in many different areas, not only engines, but our tires. You could feel it during the A when you're just wide open out there running many different lines. The rear tires are just shaking because they are so hot.
Hey, trying something new here, Busch Light. Some of Brian Brown's friends left us some last night. They must have thought we needed some hard work, so we're trying some Busch Light tonight.
Oh gosh.
Thanks of Brian Brown.
We were pitted next to Brian Brown, who won last night, and I guess they left us some beverages, so Dad's trying that out right now. We put that in our cooler. Here is a look at the left rear we had on during the feature. As I've been saying, absolutely nuts how hard on equipment some of these larger racetracks are. But anyway, race car is for the most part back together. We have a couple of small jobs to do in the morning, but Carly, myself, and Roger, we've been working for hours today, hours last night, and everyone kind of just has their own role on the team and things that needed to get done. Thankfully, we had today off. If we would not have had today off, last night would have been much longer. Well, here's a look at the racetrack that we are going to be running on Thursday night. As you can see on the sign, it says, "Welcome to Missouri State Fair Speedway." And this is a look from the back straightaway. They just got done watering it just a couple of hours ago. Compared to I-70, you can see how flat it is. It's got a guardrail around the inside and it's got a guardrail around the outside. And the World of Outlaws actually came here like 4 or 5 years ago. That was one of the main sprint car videos I could find online. It actually did push up the racetrack. I think it's really all gonna come down to how they prep this place. If they can keep the bottom slick and the top with a little bit of moisture to kind of develop, not necessarily a cushion, but just any grip that we can kind of grab onto, I think this place could get really racy. Well, I came down to turns 1 and 2 to give you a little bit of a view of the corners. I mentioned guardrail around the inside and the outside. It looks like in just the corners on the bottom, they have some K-rail, and you have a view of that main grandstand section along the front straightaway. Looks like you could pack a very, very large crowd in there. And they have a lot of room in the infield. It'd be really cool to pit in the infields here. There's not a lot of racetracks we get the chance to do that. I know out here in the Midwest, it's a little bit more common than the West Coast. But overall, we'll just have to see what this place brings. I know since they don't run here a lot, it can surprise anyone. And I think for a guy like me that just gets to run with the I've only ran with the All-Stars a handful of times this season. But when we go to racetracks that the All-Stars don't go to regularly on the schedule, it puts me more on an even playing field with all the other drivers, because when we go to like Knoxville, for example, you have the Knoxville regulars and all the top All-Star guys, they have laps there, but someone like me doesn't. But at least when we come to a track like this, no one really knows what to expect. We're all just kind of guessing and trying to guess the best to put ourselves in the best spot to run up front. But it's late in the evening. You see our beautiful rig here behind us. That is gonna wrap up today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Tomorrow is night number 5 here at the Speedway. That's just a couple hundred feet that direction. Sedalia, Missouri, the Missouri State Fair Speedway. Excited to get on yet another new racetrack with the 18T. There's definitely an art that the World of Outlaws, the All-Stars, and ASCS have down. Going to these new places, these new facilities, and being fast right out the gate. And that is what we are working on for our team as we go to all these new racetracks during Thunder Through the Plains. We have Sedalia tomorrow, then 34 Raceway in West Burlington, Iowa on Friday, and then Knoxville on Saturday. Stay tuned for our journey. It's gonna be a fun one. The first couple of nights have been up and down, but that's really how this is, and we are truly living the dream. So like I said, thank you for hanging out with us for yet another day out here on the road. We'll see you guys tomorrow for night number 5. Deuces.